Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, and I actually just recorded the video you may have already seen about getting back to Italian, which is very, very exciting. And I actually want to tell you a little story today about getting back to another language that is quite distant in my past and that many of you probably don't even know. I used to study a little bit, but that I have quite a special relationship with, I would say. And that language is actually Finnish. Now, before your heads explode, before people say, what are you doing? Japanese, Italian, now Finnish, what the heck? Let me explain. Because this video is more about why do we do this, right? Like, why do we learn these languages? Because yes, in a lot of ways, me learning Finnish, getting back to Finnish, I'll talk about that more in a minute, it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? From a practical standpoint, right? And you could think of that in a bunch of different ways. But even if we just take the fact that I haven't studied Finnish in a long time, I barely really spoke any Finnish to begin with, and it's certainly, you could say, a challenging language relative to others that I already have been learning or that I could pick up. So in a lot of ways, it's kind of a bit of a strange decision. But what I can tell you is that the opportunity just kind of presented itself, right? I was playing around with Speakly a little bit, this app that lots of people have been talking about recently. My good friend Richard Simcott has been doing a challenge of Estonian and all this stuff. And I was just testing it out, using it for Italian a little bit because I wanted to try it out. But they also have Finnish. And they take quite an intuitive approach to grammar in particular. And as many of you may know, Finnish is quite notorious for its complex grammar system. And so I was really curious about, how would that work? How well would that work? Such an intuitive approach to picking up grammatical structures and patterns and rules with a language like Finnish. And given my history with Finland and Finnish, I just decided to do it purely for fun, with no goal, no objective. I'm not declaring here like I'm now learning Finnish officially and it's, one of my main languages and I'm going to be super fluent in it. I don't know. But I just decided, hey, 5 words a day. Like 5 words a day, and even that's not a hard requirement, but it's just the point is like, okay, if I have a set goal, just 5 words a day, plenty of reviewing, taking my time, and just spending like 15 or 20 minutes on this, right? I can find 15 or 20 minutes somewhere in the day. Why not? And I have to say, it has been absolutely lovely. Absolutely splendid. So a bit of background on why, like where does this come from? I've always been really interested in Finland, and this goes way back. This goes all the way back to me beginning studying Swedish as well, which is actually a long time ago when I was studying macroeconomics in university, and we looked quite closely at it in a couple of classes, and I took several other classes where we actually looked quite closely at Sweden and Finland and a couple of other either Nordic or Scandinavian countries, and I just developed this little interest. And then over time, I got interested in other ways. And then at a certain point with Finland in particular, my neighbor in Japan was from Finland, and he became one of my closest friends for a long time. And I still consider him to this day one of my dearest friends. And then I, at one point, considered actually doing a master's degree in Finland. This is still years and years ago at this point. And then I actually made a really good friend at the Polyglot Conference in Serbia back in 2014, who also was living in Finland with her boyfriend, and they're now married. And so she invited me to come and visit for Christmas in 2014. It was not over Christmas, but I came during the Christmas holidays. And it was just so lovely. It was wonderful. And it turns out that she surprised me by actually organizing my dear friend Matthias to come over to her house on my first night. So I came to Finland, met my really good friend, and they hosted me in their apartment. And then my friend Matthias comes over by surprise, and it was so lovely. And that's the time when I was learning a bit of Finnish, right? Of course, I was going there to the country, so I wanted to learn a little bit. I had some really pleasant experiences attempting to use my very, very basic Finnish in Finland. I do have one video I made actually when I was there at a later date. So I didn't get very far at all, but I have to say I really, really enjoyed it. I personally really like the Finnish language, but I also really like Finnish people. I've had the pleasure of meeting quite a few people from Finland, and my personal experience has just always been so pleasant. And so later, this is now 2017, so quite a few years later, I actually almost took a job in Helsinki. So I actually moved to Helsinki for a job I was going to be doing. And then things kind of fell apart at the last second. And it was actually a very, very challenging time in my life. Some of you who have been watching my channel for a long time, you will actually remember that, because I was doing my Korean from scratch series in Montreal. Then I moved to Finland, and suddenly I popped up in Finland with a video about learning Finnish. And then all of a sudden I was back in my hometown in the UK, and then I did a bunch of videos. And so, yeah, but the point being is I actually moved there in the winter once again. So I've never seen Finland not in the winter. But I give you all of this just to express that it's funny, because it's a language that I don't actually have a lot of experience learning. I didn't learn it to a high level. To be honest, I could barely say I was a beginner. You know, I mean, I really did not get very far with Finnish. But it's a language that I have a long history with, and that I have a lot of very nice associations with. And it's a part of my past that I think I'm really coming to terms with, right? I mean, I recently made a documentary about getting back to Japanese, and about how I really had an empty space inside of me for 7 years because some difficult things happened in my past with Japanese. And I think I'm finally now coming to terms with that. And it's really healthy, I think, for me, right? Just sort of finally filling in that empty space that Japanese left behind. And I think this is all a big part of me moving on in life, and ultimately moving on to hopefully a really happy life, and a much more balanced and fulfilling life in a lot of other ways, right? I've spent most of the last 5 to 6 years just completely immersed in trying to build up my channel, build Journaly, try to give as much value as I can to get to, you know, this place where now I can hopefully spend more time learning languages again, now that I'm full-time on YouTube and Journaly and stuff. And so Finnish feels a bit similar. It's a language that I associate with a place, which I associate with a lot of people, and that I have, you know, again, I've been in contact with for a long time. It's a place I've wanted to spend time in for a long, long time. I have, as I mentioned, an incredibly dear friend who is from there. And yeah, it's a place where I would really enjoy spending time in the future, whether it's just going back, you know, on somewhat frequent holidays, or maybe even doing a summer program there or something, learning Finnish. I don't know. The point is, it's just a place, and it's a language that I have some really fond memories with, and that I feel like I never really got to fully explore. You know, I feel like I didn't really get to fully have my Finnish story. You know, I just kind of got started on it. And especially the fact that I actually moved to Helsinki, and I thought I was going to be living there like for a long time. And then it kind of at the last second all fell apart. It's a little bit like Japan, you know, a little bit, in that I was set to have a really special experience there and then didn't, you know. And I have some really fond memories there, you know, like there was a coffee shop that I went into, and the guy had just opened his coffee shop, right? It was like brand new, and he did not have a lot of experience as a barista. And as many of you know, I not only love coffee, but I've actually worked at a lot of coffee shops, very passionate about making coffee. And he was just like struggling, he was stressed out. And I mentioned, you know, I'm working in coffee, and he's like, can you please teach me how to pour latte art? Like, can you please help me understand how to how to do this better. And I went back there, and this is just a random day. It's like my third day in Helsinki, and I went back there and I helped him. We made a ton of drinks together. He gave me free sandwiches and free smoothies. And I mean, just such a wonderful, what a wonderful memory. What a wonderful experience, you know? I'd love to go see that guy again, see how he's doing now. I'm sure he's doing great, you know? I'm sure now he could teach me a bunch of stuff about making coffee. So yeah. So anyway, like I said, the conclusion, in case it's a little confusing, because I'm just so passionate and excited about this little simple topic. The point of this video is, again, yeah, sometimes it doesn't make a lot of sense logically, right? Sometimes picking up a new language or dabbling in a new one, it's not the most practical thing to do. But at the end of the day, if it brings you genuine happiness, like it did me, like yesterday, I was out studying Finnish in the morning by the water, by the boats, where it makes me really happy. And I actually recorded a special little video for my Patreon supporters on my phone, just because I was so happy. I wanted to share that positivity with them. It made me really happy. And so it's like, it's super worth it. So like, you know, obviously you have to be aware of what you're doing, and long term, I think it's helpful to be mindful of dabbling too much or starting too many things, depending on what you're able to do and what your goals are. But as long as you're aware and as long as you're being thoughtful, yeah, language learning is supposed to make us happy, in my opinion. Of course, some of us need to learn it for a specific reason, like a very practical reason, like a job, or maybe you move to a new country. Maybe you could be a refugee and you could find yourself in a new place, you know, and need to learn the language. So there, of course, are plenty of other reasons, but I think for a lot of us, and even in those cases, right, ideally, learning a language should really make you happy and bring you contentment and fulfillment. And so that's why I'm saying today, I don't really know what my goal is with Finnish, to be honest. I don't know for sure if I'll stick with it forever, you know, this time around. But it's making me very happy right now, and I'm enjoying it, and so we'll see where it goes. And maybe one day I'll do a video for you in Finnish. And yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Let me know if this is relatable and if there's anything you'd like to see. But for now, I'll say kiitos paljon. Thank you very much. And yeah, see you all soon.